Hey you guys, welcome to Alex and Andy live with Shanghai Daily here from Shanghai, China, where it is currently 7:31 p.m. on Monday, May 16 here in Shanghai. Right now you're looking at Lujiazui, obviously the famous financial district here in Shanghai. Thanks to our friends over at Kan Xinwen K News. Thank you guys. So yeah, welcome to the show, Alex and Andy, Monday 16 May 2022. Let's take a quick look at what's coming up on today's show. Obviously we have the new numbers. Now, good news here is that the numbers have hit triple digits for the first time since this outbreak, or since the lockdown began. I'm not sure the exact date when we first went out of triple digits, but very good news. Also, 0 community infections for the second day in a row, which is awesome. Speaking of 0, 15 of Shanghai's 16 districts have achieved 0 community transmission as the city continues to gear towards reopening. Also, several of the parks here in Shanghai, mainly in suburban areas, reopened today, Monday, with a limit on the number of visitors and requirement for 48-hour negative nucleic acid test result, which I think is going to be pretty much the norm once Shanghai fully opens again. In other news, it has been a year actually since the Tianwen-1 probe, China's probe, reached Mars. It arrived there on May 15 last year and touched down at a pre-selected landing area in Utopia Planitia, which is quite a vast plain on Mars. So yeah, it's been a year, a lot of achievements made there. So awesome news. Today also we'll play a new episode in Mental in Lockdown from Emma Leaning. Today she will discuss dealing with anger in lockdown. But first, let's catch up with my co-host, Alex. Alex, how's your day been?
Okay, just another day. It was another nice day today, but my compound, I guess we're back to orange because we are now once again allowed to go downstairs. And I did go downstairs and find just 5 or 10 minutes to just kind of sit in the sun. Just found a park bench that's inside our compound. We do have a large compound, so there's quite a big sort of common area in between the buildings and in the middle. And so I went down there just to mask on, just to sit in the sun and catch some sun for the first time in a really, really long time. There were some people, some older folks down there walking around, some kids playing. I kept my distance from everybody, but I just wanted to. I initially went down there to pick up a couple of ID packages that were on the first floor of my building, but I saw it was so nice out. I just wanted to go sit on the bench for a few minutes in the sunshine. So that was the highlight of my day today.
Sounds pretty awesome. Awesome stuff. For me today, I ordered Waimai, or delivery from a restaurant for the first time in like 6 weeks, ever since the beginning. But I got a bit of flack for it on Twitter because my choice was what is it called? Waggers, which is a bit for a foreigner to order. So people were hitting me up about that. But yeah, there's just a few.
Waggers is good. What's wrong with that?
It's good, but I guess they think I should be ordering something a bit more authentic. I don't know. But there were just a few restaurants in my area that are operating at the moment and doing Waimai. So they are quite big restaurants like Waggers, Green and Fresh, a few others. So yeah, I went with Waggers. I wasn't really hungry, to be quite honest. I just wanted to see if it would work, but it was pretty awesome. So yeah, good stuff. So it looks like the news about some restaurants and Waimai deliveries gearing up recently. Starting from today, actually, is in gear. But I did ask some other friends, and they said they still can't order Waimai. They still can't go downstairs and delivery. So again, it's different all over Shanghai.
Yeah, I had the same thing. I did not order from a restaurant today. We've got a lot of food that we've sort of stocked up on that we need to use before it goes bad.
Got to get rid of it.
Yeah, and so I think we're going to be focusing on doing that and getting our supplies back to sort of a normal level. Now that it does seem like it is a little bit easier for at least some people to get supplies. Now, yeah, I will try to get something from a restaurant. I'd really love to have like a pizza or something like that, or even like a Chinese meal, whatever, anything that I don't know how to make or don't have the supplies to make myself, So I'll probably be doing that in the next day or two. But yeah, for now, we're just focusing on using up the veggies that we've got before they go bad, because that would be a waste.
Yeah, speaking of which, I did feel really guilty today, actually, when I ordered Waimai because, like you just said, I have a lot of vegetables that are quite soon going to go off that I need to eat before they get wasted. And then when I ordered Waimai today, I I wasn't hungry, like I said before. I just wanted to see if it would work. Then when it arrived, I was kind of like, oh no, I feel really bad because we've got so used to relying on ourselves during this lockdown and with the food we're going to eat and what we're going to make. So things are sort of planned out. And I have some vegetables that are, like I said, about to go off. And I was like, I can eat those today and that'll be all good. But then, that got pushed back. So hopefully after the live stream, I'll do some hot pot and chuck in a lot of those vegetables so we don't waste stuff.
I did want to say one thing. We did make some nice chicken soup today with some chicken that we had and some other things. And, the Chinese way of doing chicken, well, there's lots of different ways, but, a more Chinese way of doing chicken soup, is different from the way that I grew up eating it, in the U.S., where it's more, over there it's saltier and more sort of like lots of more vegetable based. But the one that we made here, it has like guiyuan, the fruit that I'm talking about, like longan or whatever it's called. And you throw some goji berries in there. And it's like a little bit sweeter, but more depth and flavor. It's really, really nice. So I was enjoying that today too.
That sounds awesome. I'll have to ask you after the show how to do chicken soup because I got 2 chickens today and I posted it online, especially in WeChat, I think. And all my Chinese friends were like, oh, you can eat heaps of chicken soup. And I was like, I have no idea how to do it. So you have to teach me. Okay. Hey, I'll just quickly check out some messages. Now, Spud here mentioned June 1 normal life. We're going to talk about that very soon with Yang Jian. So the Vice Mayor today mentioned that the city will aim to open or begin opening fully on June 1, and it will be complete sometime around the middle of June. So we're looking forward to that date, which is about 2 weeks from now. So Spud, we will talk about that in more detail shortly. Sylvain says, good evening. Tiffany says, kia ora e hoa. Kia ora e hoa, it means like, hello friend in Māori from New Zealand. So, and then he says in the brackets, no, I'm Pākehā, which means I'm not Māori. I'm just a white guy. Awesome that you're using Māori language. Thanks for that. Travel with Jean in China made a comment here because we mentioned the Mars rover. He said Bing Gwen Gwen, the mascot for the Olympic Games, is on the Mars rover. I did not know that. Did you know that, Alex?
I did not. They put him on the rover and launched him up there.
Yeah, that's awesome. I hope they also sent the mascot for the Special Olympics. Now, that mascot was kind of dejected a little bit because people didn't pay as much attention. In fact, they can't even remember that mascot's name. Do you remember, Alex?
I don't actually. You know what? I watched. Well, the thing is, and I did pay a little bit of attention to the Special Olympics, but I watched so much of the regular Winter Olympics that I had a little bit of Olympics fatigue by the time.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yep. No, I have no idea. I cannot remember what the mascot for the Special Olympics was called. But some more comments here. Do a live stream cooking, somebody says. We could do that, but it's a bit hard to set up. I've got my lights and camera set up here.
Yeah,
Alex has a system.
Yeah. Sorry, I think it would be best. Maybe we could do a little video or something like that. But I don't know if we could do a cooking live. It might be a little bit sort of arduous to do. But hey, we'll see.
Yeah, good idea. Hey, we have a comment here from another New Zealander watching. Claire says, how about 100 ways to cook spam? I have got cans of the jolly stuff that I've never cooked or used before. That's true. We did receive a few tins of spam during the lockdown from the government. Did you get any, Alex?
Yeah, I haven't eaten it though. My fiance ate it. I'm not a big fan of spam. She likes it, so she cooked it up for something for herself. She knows I'm not a huge fan of it, so I'm just kind of like, that's for you.
Yeah, no, that's a funny thing because we tend to see spam as something quite disgusting, but actually a lot of Chinese people quite love it. They'll just crack it open and chuck it in whatever, chuck it in soup, chuck it in hot pot, whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe
really
I should open
Hawaii, Andy.
It's what?
It's huge in Hawaii.
Oh, is it? Is that because everything's imported there, or?
I don't really know. I think that might have something to do with it. Obviously, I think it's big in a lot of island places. I'm not really sure, but I know it's really popular in Hawaii as well. And I think that might be part of the reason why.
Actually, now that you say that, I think it's popular in Niue, which is a very small island protectorate of New Zealand, about 3 hours flight north of New Zealand. I think because a lot of their stuff is imported as well, they have a lot of spam too, now that I think back. So it could be something to do with imports and exports being so expensive. Joe Alberto says spam doesn't sound too healthy. And ABC has said the name of the Special Olympics mascot. It's in this weird pinyin, so I'm going to say it wrong, but Shui.
Probably Shui.
Shui, ma, Shui. 然后
I don't
软
know.
是什么软？
Run or rong rong or
Is it soft? 水软软
I think it might be run, like
润
利润 run.
润油 Oh, okay.
Yes, I don't.
Awesome. I think it's the Chinese lantern, right? 水润润 Is it a Chinese lantern?
I'm gonna have to look this up. I don't want to speculate too much. Be wrong.
I'm gonna look it up now. Special Winter Games 水 mascot.
You got to get the Chinese characters so we know how to say it properly. You know, they'll take the you see some Chinese words are not like there are some words in Chinese, and we all sort of know this, that if you look at the actual opinion of it, it's sort of, you know, intuitive about how might to say it. Like BEI, most people will just say bay, right? But if you look at some of the other ones, like with the X's and the Q's and the different pronunciations, you know, if you're a Chinese speaker, you know how to pronounce it. But if you're not, and, you know, of course, the Olympics are, so they'll try to like, you know, change the way it's spelled in English to make it people pronounce like Bing Dun Dun. It should be DUN, but they put DWEN because I think most people would say Dun, they would say like done or something like that. And so they
that was weird. When I first saw that, I was like, is it like a Uyghur name or Uyghur language or some other minority language? So I was too scared to pronounce it. And then I realized it's meant to be Dun Dun. It's like, that is not how you would spell Dun. But anyway.
Right. But if for someone who's not a Chinese speaker, it makes more sense. And they would pronounce it more accurately when it's spelled that way. So I get why they do that.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, but not, if you know what I mean. So here is Shui Runru. I can't find the Chinese character, sorry, but that is the mascot for the Special Olympics. And this is Bing Dun Dun, who's the mascot, the more popular one for the main Winter Olympics. So yeah, there you go. Anyway, let's get back on track, I reckon. We've got our colleague Yang Jian waiting on the line, and he's going to talk to us about the latest news for today. So let's get rid of that comment and then bring him in. Yang Jian, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Awesome. So big news today, and as one of our viewers just mentioned before, is that it was announced today that the city may be heading to or beginning to open up fully and properly from June number 1. So how, basically, I want to ask you, how is that going to happen?
Yes, the vice mayor said the chief target is to make life and business fully get back to normal by mid to late June. And the city will take 3 steps to reach the goal. The first is from now to Saturday, and there are several major changes for citizens in the precautionary areas. The first is many citizens are now allowed to reopen supermarkets and wet markets from today. And the second is taxis and private cars will be allowed on the roads, but only in the outlying districts. And the third is railway and domestic flights are gradually restored. And the fourth is senior grade middle school students will return to school. And university students are allowed to return home or keep staying at school because previously all local colleges are under closed-loop management. And the second phase from Sunday to the end of this month, firstly, the locked down and the controlled areas are all expected to become precautionary areas. And the city will restore the high, medium, and the low-risk areas like before the resurgence. And secondly, from Sunday, buses and the subways will resume operations gradually, and along with online taxi services, and which is citywide. And then we will enter the last phase from June the 1st, when our life and work will fully return to normal gradually. And the vice mayor said there are 3 signs showing that the pandemic has been put under effective control. And firstly, he said 15 districts have achieved zero community transmission, and only the Chongming Island reported a single positive case 3 days ago, I think. And secondly, she said the population within the locked down areas has dropped to under 1 million for the first time. And thirdly, the daily infection has also fallen below 1,000, and there has been no community transmission for 2 consecutive days. And but like Andy said, Local districts have different schedules, and the outskirt regions are opening up earlier, like in Fengxian. Today, there are 8 bus lines being restored with a capacity limit of 50%, and 6 parks have also been reopened in Fengxian. And in Jiading district, many street food stores have reopened, and the citizens can enter wet markets with PCR report certificate from neighborhood committee and after scanning the venue code. But in downtown district, the situation might be totally different. Like in Yangpu, that reported a third of the city's total infection today, and the citizens are now keep receiving the PCR testing every day, and everyone must stay at home. And the neighboring Hongkou is also conducting PCR screening across its locked down areas. So we may feel differently about the process of this gradual open up through the end of the month. But according to the vice mayor, we will together, we are expected to return to the normal life and work from next month. Andy.
All right. Well, that's good progress. We'll see how that goes. You mentioned flights and also railway services are being restored or sort of brought back in some respects. Can you tell me a little bit more details about that?
Yes, the Hongqiao Airport and the Hongqiao Railway Station became crowded again today with the resumption of some domestic flights and railway services. And since the cities faced the lockdown about 2 months ago, most domestic flights had been suspended, and over 100 international flights to Shanghai have also been diverted to land at other domestic airports since late March. So there are only several international flights operated by overseas carriers at the Pudong Airport, and some charter flights for medical teams from across the nation. But from today, the Shanghai-based Junyao Airlines restored the first departing flights between Pudong and southeast Fujian province. And the Spring Airlines, another Shanghai-based private carrier, will restore a return flight between Pudong and Kunming in southwest Yunnan province from Wednesday. And the budget carrier will also restore a flight to Dalian in northeast Liaoning province on Wednesday, but only for students. And other airlines such as China Southern are also preparing to restore its operation at Shanghai's two airports. And before the city's airway become busy again, China's domestically developed aircraft C919 has just finished its test flight at the Pudong Airport before being delivered to its first operator, China Eastern. And about the railway service, a dozen of trains have been restored at the Hongqiao Railway Station today, and from Shanghai to several hub cities like Beijing, Hangzhou, Nanjing, and more services will be restored at the Shanghai Railway Station soon. And according to photos on social media, there have been a long line of railway passengers waiting at the Hongqiao station from this afternoon. And about how to get to the airports and the railway stations, that might be the most concerned question to our readers. And I interviewed a sub-district today, and an official told me the neighborhood committees or sub-districts can now issue a certificate for travelers to leave Shanghai. And as long as they have the flight or train tickets, the greenhouse code, and the PCR test report. And the travelers in the outskirts districts can book a taxi themselves because the vice mayor said taxi services and the private cars will be allowed on road again from today. And in downtown, the neighborhood committee can can book the taxi or transport service from the sub-district to take the passengers to the airports or railway station. And but people in locked down and controlled areas are suggested delaying their travels after their neighborhood becomes a precautionary area, which will only take 10 days now if with no new infection. And air and railway passengers must have the 48-hour PCR report and a 24-hour antigen report or the 24-hour PCR report to enter the city's airports or railway stations. And passengers from Shanghai may also have to receive 1 or 2 weeks of home quarantine after landing. which depends on the stipulation of the destination cities. Alex.
Excellent, Yang Jian. Thank you so much. A lot of information to get through there, but I think it's mostly good news. So we'll catch up with you again, same time tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Okay. Interesting about the flights. Someone was mentioning online that it is a lot of the low budget carriers that are swinging back into action. We saw that was the case with Spring Airlines, one of the Shanghai airlines. And it's also interesting that he noted we still may be required to undergo 2 weeks quarantine, or maybe even longer, if you're going somewhere within China, depending on their situation, their rules, based on the situation here in Shanghai. So I don't think I'm going to be traveling anytime soon. What about you, Alex?
Yeah, no, I don't plan on it. Obviously, with the situation what it is right now, there's still a whole lot of hoops that need to be jumped through as far as traveling to other parts of the country. Right. If you really, this is good news for people in businesses and people who really need to take business trips, and things like that. But yeah, there is some possibility, or it's very, very likely, that you'll have to quarantine upon arrival. I know someone that recently went to Chengdu and had to quarantine when he got there as well. And so, so that's the situation. But I suppose it's better to have the opportunity to travel, even if there are a lot of sort of stipulations and different things that you have to do to make it happen.
Yeah, for sure. And I also want to stipulate there that the date is currently set for June 1 to begin really opening up again. But of course, we are under the dynamic COVID-0 policy. So the 动态清零政策, which means that if the situation worsens, which I'm not saying it will, but there's always the chance that date will be pushed back. So again, it's an aim that we're aiming for, but it's definitely not solid at this point. But we'll wait and see in the 2 weeks coming up. Hey, Alex, we have this graph of today's cases. Like I mentioned before, it's the first time we're in triple digits since April 1. So yeah, that's awesome news.
Yeah, good to see the numbers again. Good to see the numbers going down. Hopefully that continues. Looks like there are 0 so-called community infections, which are those, as we keep repeating, those that occur outside of quarantine facilities, quarantine hotels, or lockdown areas. And so that's good. That number likely portends that the number of cases will continue to trend downward. I hope that once we open up again to a certain extent, that will continue to be the case, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, definitely. There is the number of community cases again, 0 today and 0 yesterday. So 2 days in a row. And as I mentioned before, 3 is a magic number. And like I also mentioned before, 15 of the city's 16 districts have achieved 0 community transmission. I think we have, here we go. There's one of the definitions we had the other day. So if we reach 3 consecutive days without a positive case at the community level, that equals 0 community transmission. So that will be hopefully after tomorrow. So we'll cross our fingers. I don't want to jinx it, but we'll wait and see what happens tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll have to see, and then we'll see what happens in terms of the way things open up and to what scale they open up. Obviously, we did just hear from Yang Jian that there are a number, a number of different services and sort of establishments and businesses that are opening up slowly but surely. We see this projected date for June 1st, and we'll have to see what that means. I don't personally anticipate that on June 1st, all of a sudden everything is doors open. But we will have to see how open it really goes. I mean, I hesitate to use the term normal life because I'm not sure if that will be the case.
Yeah.
I also suspect that for a period of time after this, scanning a QR code or a health code to get into any sort of venue and doing really, really, really frequent PCR testing is going to become the new normal. So, if you don't consider that to be part of normal life, then I wouldn't be anticipating quote unquote normal life for a while. But hopefully sooner rather than later, we'll get back to a place where we can, even if we do have to scan a code or do a lot of PCR tests, hopefully we'll get back to a place where we can at least go back to some, if not all, of the places in the city that we enjoy going, be that a restaurant, be it an entertainment venue, be it obviously your office, or maybe hopefully a friend's house. That would be nice, stuff like that. So we'll see how long it takes for that to happen.
Yeah, I was thinking about that before, Alex. It kind of freaked me out because I remember last time in 2020, it was quite hard to bring friends in or to visit friends' houses in the height of the lockdown. Well, no, it wasn't a lockdown technically. And I was just
Right.
thinking today, you know, after June 1, when we open up again, how long is it going to be that we have the fences still up, the guards at the gate, and checking IDs of people who are coming in and out? Because visiting friends or having friends come over is a really important thing. So yeah, hopefully we can get through that pretty quickly. But yeah, you were speaking with.
Go ahead.
You were speaking just before about June 1 and, you know, doubting that we're going to be back in the office with bells on June 1st and riding on the metro and back to everything. And I was actually chatting with our colleague Emma Leaning earlier this morning about that. She's also quite wary about well, not wary, but, you know, the June 1 date seems a bit soon to be expecting to be back to, you know, quote unquote normal life. And probably mid-June seems more like the time we're probably going to be back in the office, and that's about a month's time. But we have Emma with us now, and we can have a chat with her. Hopefully her connection is working out. Emma, can you hear us?
Hello.
Hi. Sounds good
like
today.
It's working.
Yeah.
Oh, we've gotten further than we ever have before already.
Yep. Yep.
Exactly. Hey, Emma, I was wondering, because we're about to play your new episode. We've really enjoyed your show, and you're up to episode 7. So what can we expect to see in today's episode?
So today we're talking about anger with a doctor called Nate Balfans, and he wants to talk about how anger is this kind of almost like dirty word. We're kind of raised to believe, even as kids, that anger is a bad emotion and we shouldn't have it. And then we go into kind of adult life and relationships trying to suppress it, when actually there's nothing wrong with anger. The problem comes when you try to ignore it.
Awesome. Hey, let's check out the video then. And when we come back, we'll have a chat with you again. Let's check it out.
Jump online or scroll through a WeChat group and it's pretty clear. We're angry in lockdown. So I spoke to Dr. Nate Balfans about this emotion that we're taught to suppress, about why anger matters and how to channel yours.
Fear and anxiety are two words that I keep hearing.
Sure.
But how do you distinguish between the two?
So now, fear is response to an actual objective threat coming from the outside, all right? So fear responses, they're automatic, they're unconscious, they're before we even think about it. But anxiety is a response to a subjectively experienced internal threat, all right? I would say, given the current circumstances, we're experiencing both of those things. There are actual objective threats that exist in our world right now. In addition, though, we're constantly feeling this sense of anxiety from big feelings that we're having and not feeling like we can express them in the direction that they need to go then. So feeling stifled on that front as well.
Yeah, you know, we are angry about what we're going through. Why is that so important to acknowledge?
The number one feeling that people have anxiety about is the feeling of anger. What does society tell us about anger? Anger is bad. Anger is something that needs to be controlled. Anger is something that needs to be stifled. All right. And then we learn that at a young age, and then we carry that into adulthood in our romantic relationships, our friendships, our co-working relationships, and the cycle just sort of perpetuates.
What impact does anger have on us?
I would actually like to sort of reframe it, because it's not about the impact that anger has on us. It's about the impact that avoiding and ignoring our anger that has on us. That is the bigger consequence then. So one that comes up a lot is what we call displacement. So I'm angry at you. I can't express my anger at you. I can't find the words for it, but I'll go home, I'll yell at my kid, I'll kick my cat, and I'll take my anger out there. Another is dependency. I might use drugs, sex, food, alcohol, shopping, whatever it might be. It's something that I'll compulsively engage in to keep those feelings at bay. All right. Another frequently used defense that we use is self-blame or self-shame. It's really easy to be angry at ourselves because maybe we're very well versed in that. All right. Last defense is called like minimization or denial. And we do this to ourselves, we do this to one another. It becomes a problem because it can be extremely invalidating and very tone deaf to the plight of a person or to an entire group of people.
So when the reason for our anger is so validated, which it is with what we're being put through, why do some people still feel the need to engage in that toxic positivity?
The situation is so unbearable in some ways that we don't want to entertain that reality. And we think that we're sort of putting things in perspective because it is indeed not as bad as perhaps how some people might be making it. All right. But who am I to judge that? But it still distances ourselves from the reality and the reality of the feelings then.
What advice do you have for navigating anger?
We try to label the emotion then. It could be anger, it could be sadness, it could be excitement, it could be guilt or shame, all right? And then orient yourself to the cognitive label that says, I'm feeling this, and the physical sensation of, and it feels this way. Now, it might also mean setting boundaries or setting limits with people who try to deny or invalidate your experience of a natural emotion of anger. It might also mean mobilizing your community to advocate on behalf of the physical and emotional well-being of its residents. Finally, use the anger that you're feeling right now as agency to do what's best for you.
Was there anything else that you wanted to add?
You know your truth, you know what you feel. Allow your truth and allow your feelings to guide you in the direction that you feel is what's best for you.
Thank you so much for your time.
You got it. Absolutely. Okay, take care. Bye.
Yeah, pretty interesting there. Another really good conversation, as all of them in your series have been, really helpful given the situation. So I noticed he talked about sort of the difference between fear and anxiety, and fear being something that's more objective, whereas anxiety is more subjective. What are your feelings about what some of the things he said, Emma? Do you have any sort of anything that how do you analyze what he said?
That particular point, or just overall?
Overall.
Overall. Yeah, I think when it comes to fear and anxiety, I keep hearing them within the same breath. So understanding what they are and how they are different, I found really useful. In terms of other things that kind of stood out for me that he said were really interesting, it was about how we're raised as kids to kind of believe that that anger is a bad emotion as opposed to a natural emotion, and we're kind of then going into adult life trying to suppress it and push it away and deny it. And I thought his explanation of I think it was 4 different ways that we do that, from picking your cat to kind of beer and sex and all these other different things, the ways that we try to kind of suppress this natural emotion because we're too kind of fearful to go there, was really interesting. And the one that stood out the most for me was the one that he said at the end, minimization, I think he called it. It's something that has happened to me quite a few times. There's somebody in my family that has actually done it to me a few times with things, and I've found it so upsetting and annoying, but really hard, because it feels like someone's saying your experience and what you're going through isn't real. And quite often it's just because they can't sit with your pain or they can't sit with your frustration, so they try to kind of say it's all right, or this too shall pass. And it's something that's always irked me because I think it is so damaging. And then more recently, I've been used in something that I think you could essentially call this everything's all right when it's not really all right. kind of content, toxic positivity, like just taken out of context and used in something like that. And I found it absolutely infuriating because, one, it invalidates the experience that me and my husband have had with COVID and everything we've shared and been through. But more importantly, to what Dr. Nate spoke of, it's completely tone deaf to what the community is experiencing. So I think that minimization is really dangerous.
Oh, for sure. I think also one of the important things that I found in the video that he mentioned was, you know, when we're younger, and I think you just mentioned that as well, we're taught that anger needs to be controlled, but a lot of people have these pent-up frustrations. In fact, recently in Shanghai, when we've had people banging pots outside, I kind of joined in one night because I just wanted to get out some emotions, you know, so I was just inside like, da, 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 and it was really therapeutic. So I found it pretty awesome and very important stuff. Hey, Emma, what can we look forward to coming up from your Mental in Lockdown series?
So the next episode we've got is actually on happiness. So something to point out is that I don't choose these topics. The mental health professionals choose them. You know, they're the experts, and they're like plugged into what the community are going through. And so I follow their lead. And I found it really interesting, for example, that Dr. Nate wanted to talk about anger and how if we deny our anger, that can be mentally damaging. And we've got another mental health professional who wanted to talk about happiness. And how if we deny ourselves moments of happiness, and I know that that might seem like such a far stretch to be able to create under such difficult circumstances, but that there is a real mental fallout to not allowing ourselves those moments and trying to create them despite the odds. So that's the next episode. And then we've got another one this week that is about uncertainty, which again is a word I keep hearing, and I know many of us are feeling.
Awesome. Looking forward to it, Emma. Thank you so much for coming in for a chat. And hopefully when your next video comes out, we can chat then.
Thanks, Emma.
And I'm also with the lady that thinks we should do the 100 recipes with spam. I'm on board. I think
Okay.
The first meal that my husband ever cooked for me was spam cordon bleu. So we only need another 99 recipes.
Oh, we'll wait. We'll get one off you next time, Emma. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye-bye. Yeah, there's one of those recipes down the bottom. I could use them as building blocks, I suppose. I've only just realized that spam is often what gets served up in hotel breakfast in China. Very salty and not that pleasant. I didn't know that. I'm not sure.
Well, it depends on a lot of things. I mean, you know, I've been to a lot of hotels in China, and in a previous life, I had a job, where I traveled a lot around the country. So I've been around the country, a lot of different places around the country, and a lot of hotels. And I think it really depends on A, where you are, and B, how expensive the hotel is. You're not going to get spam at the Shanghai. We'll see. You know, exactly. Anyways, no, spam is also not my favorite. Well, yeah, spam is also not my favorite. But maybe out of these 100 recipes, I don't know if we're going to do it or not, but maybe there might be one that I like. I don't know.
I'll tell you what. Let's not mention spam again after this, I reckon. Yeah. Hey, Alex, yesterday we promised the viewers that we were going to share some interesting things we found online or whatever. That wasn't to do with COVID. So I've got your one here. Should we check it out?
I'll just talk about it. I was just browsing the internet today. My screen time has gone through the roof, seeing as how we're not allowed to go anywhere. And so I was just flipping through some things. I follow some science and technology sort of related channels, one of my interests, along with a few other things. And I don't really know a whole lot about this particular topic, which is, humanoid robots, but I just saw this short little video about the evolution of humanoid robots in the last 10, 12 years. And I thought it was really, really interesting.
Oh, this is creepy.
Can we see it clearly?
So yeah, it seems to be playing.
Yeah, okay. So it's just sort of the different evolution. I'm not sure where this is based. It might be in the US. I do see Chinese down there. It might be China or Japan, or I'm not sure. But in any case, it does the way that the robots move, and the way that they, if you see here, recover from stress and injuries, the way that they're able to sort of maintain their balance and interact with their surroundings has really increased sort of dramatically year by year over the last several years. And I know that's the case in not just where but in a lot of different countries and facilities around the world, it's pretty interesting to see. So I just thought that was a cool little thing that we could take a look at.
This is Alex, this is it's really weird because it really plays to your emotion. Like I see the robots moving like humans, and it automatically makes me instill this kind of human quality. And when I just saw that robot all over, I felt really bad.
You know, it's weird that I also felt the same way. It's a little bit choppy on the screen. I hope it's a little bit better for the viewers. But in any case, yeah, when you see the robot, of course, increasingly, obviously, this one here, the 2018 model, is much more human-like in its movements than 10 years prior. And you're right, when it does have those sort of humanoid, human-esque movements, it like it's dancing around and jumping around. It does give it like a human feel to it. And I don't really know the science behind that or the psychology, but yeah, it does make
psychology.
You sort of feel, I don't know. And maybe I Robot is the robot takeover closer than we think. Let's hope.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, when do we start? You know, how close do they have to be to humans for us to start kind of seeing them as humans? And that's where it could get tricky. And that is the subject of a lot of sci-fi movies, including I, Robot. When do we start giving them rights? When do they start deserving their own autonomy? Stuff like that. It's a scary thing.
I don't know. I mean, I could sort of pontificate about that. But, you know, I think that, you know, I think for me, the bigger question is, you know, we are headed in the future, kicking and screaming, very likely, to a society in which robots replace human labor in a lot of different fields, and increasingly so over time. And so I think we as a society and as different nations have to sort of ask the question of, you know, where do we, what does work look like in the future? Who profits off of the work, robots and automation? How is that sort of distributed to the people rather than, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of different sort of ethical questions and lifestyle questions that, you know, I like to discuss in conversations with people looking toward the future, 20 and 40 years. And what is the world of work and profit going to look like then? Because I think it's going to be a whole lot different than it is now.
Yeah, for sure. And I know robots like these, well, maybe not humanoid walking robots, but they do use robots for very dangerous jobs right now. For example, bomb disposal in the US. And people are happy with that because no one wants to blow themselves up. But as soon as robots start taking over common jobs, people are going to, you know, like you said, be dragged kicking and screaming into the future.
And, you know, we see it already in China in a lot of ways. You know, you walk into pre-lockdown, of course, stipulation, but you walk into a lot of restaurants, supermarkets, fast food places. You have fewer people working there because you don't need cashiers. It's all self-checkout, self-order, self-this and stuff that. And so I think that's just the tip of the iceberg, to be honest with you. Now we've got, you know, here and there slowly rolling out self-driving cars as well. That's another big one. You know, there are just a lot of professions. Of course, there are a lot of professions that are really difficult to replace with automation, but I think there are a lot of jobs that are vulnerable, and we have to sort of figure out what those people are going to do in the future. And I don't mean next year, but in the slightly more distant future, when maybe those job opportunities are different. They look different than what they used to. So
and I mean, there's a few different arguments about it. Like, you know, people are saying it would be good if they could take over these dangerous jobs. But then also there's another argument where people are saying, you know, are humans created to work? You know, if we can have, robots like this that could take over work, and humans could, you know, have 3-day work weeks or whatever, and have more time to pursue art and culture and stuff. I don't know. It sounds scary to me. I feel like it would be a massive paradigmatic shift in human culture.
Yeah, I that's sort of what I was getting at when I was. That's two things. You know, the one thing is the robots, rather than human labor, will be the creators of the profit, and so how is that profit distributed, right? And then will the idea of working to quote unquote earn a living become obsolete? Will that be something that human labor, the world won't require human labor to generate its profit in the far future? I think that. Anyway, this is sort of a deeper topic but it's good. It's a good conversation to have. And I think that just watching this video just sort of gives you an idea of how fast technological advancement happens.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, Alex, can you hear me clearly? I think there's an internet issue now.
I got you now.
Oh,
A
sweet.
little bit of a lag,
I think it might have been
perhaps.
that video. My computer's struggling to catch up. Stephen Riley says, but if we don't work, what are we going to do all day? Work is the highest form of play.
I disagree with that.
Interesting.
I think we can use that time to explore our passions. We can, you know, increase music and art. We can go outside and explore. We can spend more time reading, writing, and learning about other passions that we have, learning new hobbies, exercising, really doing anything. There really isn't any inherent reason why we need to spend 40, 50, 60 hours a week at a factory or at a desk. I just think that, you know, I think that the human mind can be used in better, more diverse ways. And I think that we'll find that the human mind collectively has a lot more to offer than just, you know, hard labor.
Yeah, for sure. But it's going to be such a huge change when that comes about. I think it will come about because, you know, we are at the moment, our lives are based around work for our life. We work to get a house, to get what we need. And then by the time we turn whatever it is, 65, we can retire, enjoy what we worked our whole lives for. But, you know, when you think about it really closely, it sounds weird that we're just made to kind of work. So, yeah, interesting. But I'm not sure if I would feel, I don't know, fulfilled just doing whatever, if you know what I mean. Like, that's another thing people will have to get around. That's a philosophical question rather than a technological one, I guess.
I agree. Yep, I agree. I think a lot of people would give different answers to that, but, you know, I mean, you look, some people, you know, think about, I think about this in terms of billionaires, and we can have a discussion on whether on that another time, but whether, you know, some billionaires work until the day they die, and some billionaires buy a yacht and go to Tahiti. You know what I mean? So that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I would probably be working if I was a billionaire. To be quite honest, I would use that money to create something I wanted to create, but that was work. If you know what I mean. Sounds weird.
Yeah. You know, I don't know. I haven't. You know, it's not the world that we live in here in 2022 just yet. So, but in any case, it's just sort of speculating on what the future might look like from that futuristic video.
Yeah, that was awesome. Good discussion. What do you guys reckon? That was the first day we're trying out a little segment that's not to do with COVID-19. We talked for a little while, so I'm going to save mine for tomorrow, I reckon, Alex. Okay. And I'll quickly check through.
I got it. Go ahead.
Farmers in China are far advanced than New Zealand farmers in agriculture of using 5G robotics in farming. Yeah, that could be true. And also I know in Xinjiang as well, they use a lot, they've gotten a lot of John Deere. That's not robotics, but it's kind of the same thing, replacing technology, replacing human labor, but that is doing jobs people don't really want to do, like picking cotton. But yeah, as I said, it's going to be a huge shift in the whole way of the world. So we'll have to see what happened. Claire says Japan produced fully functioning female robots. A robot wife. Yeah, that is interesting. The Japanese, they do love that kind of stuff. They're creating very human-like, very pretty robots. So I think they're not so much utilitarian, although actually, no, they could be utilitarian in a certain way, if you know what I mean. And that might be what they're aiming for. I would expect
a little bit, but whatever, to each his or her own.
To each their own. Hey, so let's quickly wrap up. I'll go over the news from today really quickly. What do we have? The numbers. So we were down to triple digits for the first time in a long time. 0 cases for the second day in a row, which is awesome news. 15 of Shanghai's 16 suburbs, districts rather, are COVID zero. I'm not sure if it's technically, what is it? Basic COVID zero or whatever it is. Community, whatever. Anyway, it's all confusing. Some parks in suburban areas of Shanghai reopened today. Of course, people who visit there need to scan in and also show a 48-hour nucleic acid test result. Back to the science and technology. It's been a year since China's Tianwen-1 probe reached Mars. Maybe we can talk tomorrow about some of the achievements that probe has made, but awesome stuff there. This is the first time China has landed a probe on Mars, and it is still working, still doing things humans can't do at this stage. So kind of harks back to your robotics thing there, Alex.
Yep, definitely. You know, so I just thought it was pretty cool, and we'll see how that goes. I was going to show another video, but we weren't able to get it to load just And for any
Yes.
NBA fans out there, shout out to Luka Doncic and his incredible performance for the Dallas Mavericks. I don't know if any of you saw it, but they romped over the Phoenix Suns, and a really big win for him. Up and coming young basketball player from the country of Slovenia who is really taking over the NBA, and he's a really exciting young player to watch. So shout out to him. If any of you are NBA fans, sorry if you're a Suns fan, I don't mean to pour salt in the wound, but in any case, I'm a big NBA fan, so I was watching that this morning. Really special performance from Luka there too.
Hey, also, maybe we should try and download it tomorrow or tonight and try and play it tomorrow. We'll see what happens. Hey, I'll just quickly check the Shanghai Daily WeChat group really quickly. Shane says, positive view of AI and robots in the future. Yeah, it's like we were saying, it depends how you look at it. Depends what you see the role of humanity being, I guess is the fundamental question. Yeah. There was a question here for Alex, which is, 你的胡子怎么出来了？长出来了?
Yeah, I just haven't been shaving for a few days. You know, it's fine. I'm giving it a shot. You know, actually, you know what happened is my mom was watching the show a few days ago, and she was like, I like your facial hair. I'm like, oh, all right. Well, cool. Thanks, Mom. I'll just let it go.
Leave it going.
And then I talked to my dad, and he's like, I don't like it. And so maybe I've got it. I don't know. I'm just
We've been chatting every day. We've been chatting every day, so I didn't really notice it. But now that comments they come up, it's true. Yeah, awesome. Thank you guys for commenting, and wherever you're watching, we will see you again, same time, same place tomorrow, hopefully with some more good news and some more information on the situation here in Shanghai. But until then, have a good evening.
All right, see you tomorrow.